In this episode, I land on my face. I finally put my trims fully out, chase a pheasant across the ground, and get dumped in someone else's wake while foot dragging.
You have been found guilty of being an idiot.
But I've always been an idiot.
Stand there for 10 hours.
Really? Oh, Jesus. Can I come out? Yeah, I want to poo.
Okay, I think you've learnt your lesson.
Oh, thanks. Hello, my buoys. So day 3 of our little old window of 3 days sunshine in England. Dear old Blighty, we were blessed with sunshine. So first question is, why was I in the corner of shame? I'll come to that a little bit later. In fact, it's so embarrassing. I'm not really sure even why I want to put it on YouTube. I've done some crazy things like crashed into a shed, repeatedly crashed into the ground, and all sorts of things. But this tops it all. I thought, how can I even let this loose on the world? It's so stupid. Anyway, take off 35. Let's watch that. So here we are, a nice reverse launch. I was the only person down the field, all on my own. Nobody to pressurise me, nobody watching. Maybe that made all the difference. So you could run the music here. And there I go into the wonderful blue sky. Look, you can even see my shadow, something we've not been able to do for some time. Beautiful. So the previous night we'd been doing some foot drags and I thought, well, okay, I'll do some more low work stuff. But the wind was a little bit gusty and switchable, so I thought, well, you know, don't push things, let's just keep it above the ground. And for some reason everything seemed fast, and as you can see on this take here, Martin had just turned up in his car and he was kind of waving at me and I thought, oh, that's strange. Anyway, I went round and did a few low passes and then I came into land. And let's watch the landing. Landing 35. Basically it was a face plant. Unfortunately we haven't got it from a different angle. And why was it a face plant? Well, I'd made a real big, most stupid mistake of ever, and that's why I was at the corner of shame. I'd actually misread the whole wind situation. Because the previous night the wind had been behind us when we did a foot drag across the field, I'd looked at the wind socks and they were still pointing in the same direction, but 180 degrees, and for some reason, even though I took off into wind, I thought the wind was blowing the same way as it was the previous night. And it seemed to be switching around between, you know, about 90 degrees as well, which, oh my God. And I didn't realise till after I'd landed, someone drove up and said, Jesus Christ, you were flying with a tailwind. Flying downwind, that is really dangerous. Do you realise how stupid that was? Let's have a look at the bit of theory here. So here's a windsock. Obviously it's being inflated. And 7 mile an hour wind, and here we are on our paramotor, and let's say our paramotor goes about 7 mile an hour. Now this is a bit difficult to talk about really, because you know it's probably a bit faster as it comes into land, and then you flare and it reduces speed, so it must be somewhere about 7 or 5 mile an hour when you start to flare the wing. But of course 7 mile an hour with a 7 mile an hour tailwind equals 14 mile an hour. There's no way you can run that out. And of course even if you speeded that or slowed it down 5 to 10, it's impossible. You're just going to end up bang. Now what I should have done is landed into wind, in which case I would have 7 mile an hour into wind, and my 7 mile an hour speed of the actual wing would have resulted in 0 speed. So I would have basically landed on my feet. And there we can see we're now doing the walk of shame back to the car. Be told off for doing something so ridiculous. Of course, my frame on my Paramotor, my Nirvana Paramotor, that was bent and required a little bit of attention, so we just straightened that up. All was good, but it was so embarrassing, and I'm really sad really to share it even with the outside world. So I had one goal really, and that was to let my trims out in these 3 days. So here's flight 36, reverse takeoff, held it in a wall, got it up nicely. Everything went beautiful. Nice takeoff this one, at last. Now you can see there I'm letting go the brake and getting into my seat. Probably do that a little bit too early. Dave gave me that advice. Too early. Hi Dave. But you never know what's going to happen. If you had an engine out, probably you need your hands on your brakes really. I should stop doing that. He's right. Anyway, there we are, gliding off into the sunset. So that's Whole Beach on the right there, and I've now let the trims out. Martin's somewhere behind me. I must admit I was supposed to wait for him and I just wazzed off. You can see there we're doing about 50 kilometers per hour, about 1200 feet. Yeah, so there I was using tip steering. I did a nice circle and waited for him. Then he caught up with me. We managed to speak to each other on comms. Because in here, the centre is, despite it's advertised on a 2 kilometre range, it's nowhere near that. So yeah, I was doing tip steering. Everything went well. Definitely an increase in speed. And it just looks superb. It looks superb, it did. So I think now I'm just preparing to pull in the trims. This time I put my finger in the end clip there and pulled it up nicely. Now I tried to sync Fly Sky High with pulling this in so we could see the difference in speed, but I couldn't quite work out where it was, so what you're seeing there, the superimposed, is not quite the same, which is a shame really, because it would have been interesting to see the difference. Anyway, we came in doing some flat work, and just as I came in, there was a pheasant there, and of course a GoPro shows everything a lot further away. At the time it seemed quite close as it ran off and scuttled off as I well, I didn't do a foot drag, but I came in nice and low, and the sun was in front of me. It was just beautiful, the big blue sky in front of me. Absolutely terrific. Then I came round for another circuit and did a foot drag, and this is probably my best foot drag ever. As Martin said, a perfect landing starts with a perfect approach. Well, this wasn't a landing, but it was a foot drag, but it was a perfect approach, resulting in a perfect foot drag. That feeling of swooping up into the air over the fields, absolutely gorgeous. So again, now coming round again, you can see Martin's ahead of me, and the previous day I'd hit his wake, and I didn't realise what it was at the time until I watched the footage back when I got home, and Jesus Christ, I must have hit his wake. That's why I got rocked about. So this time I went through it and I thought, well, let's see what happens. So I was kind of coming in, preparing for a foot drag, and then suddenly I got dumped. So yeah, it all seemed a bit funny, and here it is in slow motion. I mean, I think that's what happened. I just suddenly, momentarily lost. You see how the wing is coming down, snaking, so I guess that's the kind of vortices which has been following on from the trail end of his wake. So here comes Martin. I think he's a bit more cautious than I am. So I think I've seen him do a slight foot drag, but he's very cautious. So he's flying there actually about 4 or 5 inches off the ground. But I must say it is perfect control. Absolutely perfect. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. You booty. So we put a football out to try and aim for, and here he comes now. Down to try and kick it. It's like my real football playing, absolutely hopeless, but he was only inches away from it. And now coming into land. Oh yeah, baby, look at that. Yes, indeed. Isn't it beautiful to watch a wing? I don't know how many of you actually fly, but I just enjoy watching it in the sky. And then folding out like that. Beautiful. In conclusion, what did we learn? For Christ's sake, don't be an idiot. I've said this before about myself. I just can't believe I misread the windsock by 180 degrees. It's just incredible. If anybody else has done it, please comment below, because surely I'm not the only person to have done that. It was familiarity. The previous night, the wind had been blowing the exactly opposite way. I don't know what goes on with my brain. Apparently my mother dropped me at birth. In fact, Martin asked whether she threw me at the floor. Don't know what he meant by that. Of course, avoid the wake of another paramotor that can seriously mess you about. I was ready for it, I was expecting it, and I suppose I could have avoided it. I just thought, let's see what happens, really. And I got my foot out ready to land, and I just landed. It was no biggie really at all. But yeah, apparently if you're flying behind somebody, you should always fly slightly above them, because the turbulence actually kind of goes down at a slight angle behind them. I'm now going to show the statistics of my flying so far, including the cost. It will make you cry. I'm only going to show it briefly because I don't want my missus to see it, and she won't know how to pause this. But you can use spacebar. She won't even know what spacebar is. If you're on a mobile, you stick your finger up your bum and it feels good.